officials from Cayman Airways and the Ministry of Tourism and Ports and other guests. With us in studio today are our panelists, the Honourable Minister of Tourism and Ports in the Cayman Islands, the Minister Kenneth Bryan. Joining us by Zoom link is the Honourable Ian Gooding Edgehill, Minister of Tourism and International Transport, Barbados, Dr. John Paul Clark, Chairman of the Board of Directors, Cayman Airways Limited, Mr. Fabian Worms, the President and CEO of Cayman Airways Limited. Also joining us via Zoom link is the Chairman of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated, Ms. Shelley Williams. And we'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism and International Transport, Ms. Francine Blackman, Acting CEO of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated, Mr. Craig Hines, CEO of the Grantley Adams International Airport, Mr. Hadley Bourne, Acting Director of Civil Aviation, Tracy Ford Bailey, CEO of the Barbados Aircraft and Aviation Services Company, Diane Sherland, Director of the Caribbean and Latin America at the Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated, Mr. Corey Garrett, our Chief Officer, Mr. Strand Bodden, in the Ministry of Tourism and Ports here in the Cayman Islands, senior staff and Ministry of the Tourism and Ports here in the Cayman Islands, and senior staff of Cayman Airways Limited as well. We have also joining us by Zoom and here in the studio, members of the media from the Cayman Islands and from Barbados and across the region. I would like to invite Minister Bryan now to bring his remarks.
Thank you, Mona, and good morning to everyone, and thank you guys for joining us here at this amazing press conference. I'm pleased to be addressing you once again to update you on the latest announcement in an impressive series of milestones for our country, which I'm happy to bring to you in collaboration with our national flag carrier, Cayman Airways. But first, I would like to extend a warm welcome to the Honourable Ian Gooding Edgehill, the Minister for Tourism and International Transport for Barbados, who joins us today virtually, as you heard, via Zoom. And he is a key partner and stakeholder with respect to this significant announcement this morning. Today, in my capacity as the Minister for Tourism with responsibility for Cayman Airways, and as the Chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization, I'm very excited to announce the introduction of a new direct airline service between two beautiful and vibrant Caribbean destinations, the Cayman Islands and Barbados. The launch of this new route between the Owen Roberts International Airport and Grantley Adams International Airport represents a significant departure from the norm for Cayman Airways. It is a part of our broader route diversification strategy aimed at expanding global connectivity and maximizing our fleet. I've asked the Honourable Dr. John Paul Clark, who I find to be a very honourable man in my esteem, the Chairman of the Cayman Airways Board of Directors, to be the lead on this strategy. His leadership and guidance have been helping us to transform Cayman Airways since his appointment in 2022. For the benefit of those listeners and viewers who may not be familiar with Dr. Clark and his background, he is a professor of aerospace engineering and engineering mechanics at the University of Texas in Austin. He is also a member of the NASA Advisory Council and holds not one, not two, but 3 degrees from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, better known as MIT. Dr. Clark has consulted extensively throughout his academic career and is a recognized expert in several fields, with a particular focus on aviation. In addition to being the chair of the Board of Directors for Cayman Airways Limited, he is also the co-founder and member of the Board of Directors for the Universal Hydrogen Company, which is an aviation and aerospace company focused on using hydrogen to achieve carbon-free flights. Noting that this is the 3rd major route launch for Cayman Airways in the last year, I would like to take a few moments to explain some of the reasons why this decision has been made to expand into the Eastern Caribbean market. Until now, Cayman Airways route expansions to international destinations outside of the United States have traditionally been places like Jamaica, Honduras, and Cuba, just to name a few. This is the first time that a scheduled service is being offered to a destination in the Eastern Caribbean as a part of the strategy to expand connectivity to the north, south, east, and west. To explain that in a little bit more depth, if you can imagine a map of the world with the Cayman Islands being positioned at the center of it, the vision is to expand the airline's connectivity to key locations situated to the north, south, east, and west of our islands. And we've been working hard to achieve that objective. With the United States serving as our primary source market for tourism, connections to the north via Miami, Tampa, New York, and a host of other United States gateways have long been well established. Last month, we went south, resuming service to Panama and strengthening our connectivity into the Latin American markets, such as Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia. Prior to that, Cayman Airways went west, offering service to Los Angeles, aimed at penetrating the West Coast market and connecting to markets such as Asia and Oceania, while maximizing the aircraft for the long-haul flights. And now we turn our attention to the east, southeast to be precise, to the Eastern Caribbean market. Dr. Clark will speak more about how this strategy has and will impact our global connectivity, but suffices to say, this new service to Barbados is a game changer for the regional connectivity. It will deliver a faster and cheaper alternative for traveling between the Cayman Islands and Barbados than any other currently existing routes on the market. It will make it possible to travel from one side of the Caribbean to the other within the same day without connecting through Miami. I know that for all the Bajans on island and Caribbean nationals here who call these islands home, this unprecedented level of connectivity will be welcomed news. And on arrival in Barbados, direct flights are available from the Grantley Adams International Airport to other islands, such as Antigua, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Trinidad and Tobago, making travel up and down the chain of the Caribbean islands most effortless. From a strategic standpoint, the Cayman-Barbados route will deliver several key benefits that will help to improve our competitive advantage. For example, this will allow visitors from several currently underserved European markets, such as Germany and Finland, to access the Cayman Islands more directly. It will expand our islands' reach within the United Kingdom by adding connectivity from major airports in addition to the current BA service from London Heathrow. As well as offering better flight times through various gateways, it will allow us to grow incremental tourism and will improve Cayman Airways' ability to increase revenue from seats. Operationally, this new route will also facilitate the introduction of a second weekly flight to Los Angeles, which I'm very excited about, and the offering of a red-eye service enabling Owen Roberts International Airport to be more fully utilized outside of peak hours. Many of you may have heard me speak about the importance of using our airport more effectively over longer periods of time throughout the day and night. This is a strategic imperative that I'm keen to see addressed, and the additional LAX service will be a significant first step in that direction. Aside from enhancing travel connectedness and convenience, the Cayman-Barbados direct service and the second LAX service in particular will function as the catalyst for economic growth and business development. Improving our frequency to Los Angeles will have a positive impact on our tourism and financial services sectors by providing more efficient connections through Asia. In just a moment, I will invite Minister Gooding Edgehill to speak on the anticipated benefits for Barbados. However, I feel confident in saying that together we envision an increase in visitors from the UK and Europe who will contribute to both our economies. While the benefits from these new services are expected to be vast and transformative, at a macroeconomic level. On the softer side of things, and of that equation, I'd like to talk about what benefit it has for us to strengthening our cultural ties between Barbados and the Cayman Islands. I hope that increasing opportunities for interactions will foster a deeper understanding and appreciation for each other's traditions, foods, music, and customs, and will build stronger bridges between our communities that create lasting connections on a more personal level. In conclusion, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to all of those who have been instrumental in making this new service a reality, particularly my regional friend and counterpart minister, Ian Gooden Edgehill, and his team in Barbados. To my team here, Chairman Clark, the Board of Directors, and the management and staff at Cayman Airways, and to everyone on my team in the ministry and the Department of Tourism who've been working tirelessly behind the scenes to bring about this game-changing travel experience to our visitors and residents alike. I will leave my colleagues on the panel to speak about the dates and times and frequency of service, and I will bring my remarks to a close by saying that I am of the view that by embracing this opportunity, we're not only investing in our prosperity of both countries, but also the unity and the progress for the entire Caribbean region. I see this service as paving a way for more connected and prosperous future for the entire region. As representatives and members of those two magnificent islands, Cayman Islands and Barbados, I'm thrilled that we have been able to work together to make this vision a reality. Thank you, Mona.
Thank you, Minister. We will now hear from Minister Gooding Edgehill.
Thank you. Good morning. First of all, Minister of Tourism and Ports, Cayman Islands, the Honorable Kenneth Bryan, also Chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization. Let me, first of all, acknowledge you, and I will say thank you in a most fulsome way later on. We have with us here in Barbados our Acting Permanent Secretary, Ms. Nicole Taylor, who's deputizing for a substantive PS, who's on vacation, Ms. Francine Blackman. Also have with us the Chairman of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., Mrs. Shelley Williams, and to acknowledge Chairman of the Board of the Cayman Islands, Dr. John Paul Clark, the Chief Executive of the Cayman Islands Airways Limited, Fabian Worms, our Acting Chief Executive Officer of the BTMI in Barbados with us, specially invited guests, members of the media. Indeed, Barbados is pleased by the announcement of this new service, direct flight from Barbados to the Cayman Islands commencing October 18th. We've worked diligently over the past few months to bring this route to fruition, and I believe that this partnership with Cayman Airways Limited could not have come at a better time for destination Barbados. If the past is any indication, I am sure that this service will prove successful, as Barbados has previously partnered with Cayman Airways to provide a charter service between Barbados and the Cayman Islands. We have studied those successful charters, and they have been the backbone of the establishment of this service beginning later this year. The Barbadian diaspora in the Cayman Islands is large, and I have no doubt that the announcement of this direct flight is pleasing for many. I am told that the commute between the two islands is currently quite tedious, with the added layovers and passing through the United States of America. Thankfully, with the start of this new route in October, that long commute will be a thing of the past. Additionally, this service is timely as it is set to begin in time for the Barbados Food and Rum Festival in October, which is one of our marquee events on Barbados's packed calendar of events. The Cayman Airways service begins October 18th, and the Barbados Food and Rum Festival runs from October 19th to the 22nd. I must pause here and ask you to allow me to take this opportunity to personally extend invitations to all Caymanians and the Barbadian diaspora residing in the Cayman Islands to visit Barbados on this inaugural service to experience the 12th edition of the Barbados Food and Rum Festival. Tickets are already on sale on our website at www.foodandrum.com, and you're all welcome to join us here in Barbados. In my capacity as Minister of Tourism and International Transport, one of my goals has been to work towards increasing airlift to Barbados as the demand continues to grow. We recently announced Bahamas Air on a chartered basis, and a few days ago, and that now coincides with this announcement with Cayman Airways, you are seeing our commitment to intra-regional travel, and I thank you, Minister Kenneth Bryan, for all that you've done to assist us with regional travel. This agreement with the Cayman Islands is a step in the right direction for destination Barbados, as we look to further increase connectivity in the region and open up opportunities for Barbadians to travel to the Northern Caribbean and vice versa. Our reports continue to reveal that the Caribbean market is gaining momentum as airlift increases throughout the region. While we are getting back to our pre-2019 levels, many of our Caribbean airline partners are steadily increasing capacity as quickly and as logically as possible, bearing in mind the challenges the airline industry is battling with globally with respect to securing enough aircraft to meet the demand. We as a ministry and as a destination will continue to work to increase our airlift options to ensure that Barbados remains connected with the US, the Caribbean, and beyond. Earlier this month, in Parliament, I successfully piloted the Airport Service Charge Act, the Amendment Act, which reduced the airport service charge for CARICOM travelers, which Caymanians can benefit from until December 14th of this year. I believe that this amendment will further inspire intra-regional travel, as high airfares have been a challenge for the tourism recovery globally. Let me also say that the opportunities with the Cayman Airways will be for Barbados to be used as a hub connection for the Eastern Caribbean and for onward connections to the Northern Caribbean. Based on my recent travels, I can say with confidence that the demand for destination Barbados is strong and growing. We will therefore continue to aggressively market the island and secure partnerships that complement our efforts. We look forward to welcoming Cayman Airways in October and to the strengthening of our relationship with the Cayman Islands government. I know that the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., led by Chairman Shelley Williams, who has been instrumental in negotiating with the Cayman Airways, will be present in the market promoting Barbados, the Food and Rum Festival, and the like. I want at this time to especially thank the chairman of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., Mrs. Shelley Williams, whose consistent dedication, drive, passion, and commitment made this a reality. I also wish to thank Dr. John Paul Clark for his dedication, commitment, and passion in delivering this experience. At that level, they both worked well, and I really had to pay a tribute to Mrs. Shelley Williams and Dr. John Paul Clark. Minister, you are not to be excluded. From the time we had discussions, you were there with us. We had lengthy discussions at the CTO meeting, and you too were part of that vision. You understood the mission as you clearly articulated in your speech. You reached out, you put the necessary resources there for us to make this a reality. And I really want to say to you, Minister, not only your capacity as chairman of the CTO and for the excellent work you continue to do on behalf of the Caribbean tourism as leader and chairman of the CTO, I really want to thank you for this initiative. Without you, I know this would not have been possible, and I thank you on behalf of Barbados. On behalf of the government of Barbados, we thank Cayman Airways for their partnership and wish all players all the very best as we make this a reality. And not to be forgotten, we will, as I indicated, we will be putting our marketing resources behind this new route to make this a reality and to sustain excellent load factors. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Gooding Adjo. I will call now on Chairman Clark to say his remarks.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Minister Bryan and Minister Edge Goodhill Edge, for that kind introduction. As the Minister indicated, I'm John Paul Clark, and I have the privilege of having served as Chairman of the Board of Cayman Airways for the past year. During that time, we at Cayman Airways have, amongst other things, had a renewed focus on route development. And in this regard, we've achieved some significant milestones. Our service to Los Angeles, which we launched last November, was at the time the first non-stop flight from the west coast of the United States to the Caribbean. Others have followed, but we were first. I think it's interesting to note that in addition to bringing Los Angeles closer in terms of flight time to Cayman than it is to Hawaii, this route provides vastly improved connectivity to other places on the west coast of the United States and to Asia and Oceania. Our service to Panama, which we relaunched just a month ago in the form of twice weekly flights to and from Panama, and which makes it easy for people to travel between Panama and Cayman for business or for a long weekend, is accompanied by what we describe in the airline industry as a robust interline agreement with Copa Airlines. What this means is that passengers can get all their boarding passes when they check in for their flights, and their bags, they can check their bags seamlessly to and from a wide array of destinations in Central America and South America, via arguably one of the easiest airports in the world to connect through. And today, we announced the launch of our service to Barbados. Specifically, 2 flights per week to and from Barbados. As Minister Bryan stated, traditionally at Cayman Airways, in the Caribbean, we've flown to our closest neighbors, Jamaica, Cuba, Honduras. This new flight to Barbados offers a new place in the Caribbean for folks in the Cayman to go and visit and to conduct business more easily. Going to Barbados, we're going to be offering one-stop connections to a plethora of Eastern Caribbean countries, starting in the north with Antigua, Dominica, not to be forgotten, Martinique, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Tobago, and Trinidad. I like to switch the order just to make the Trinis for Trinidad, change it up, and of course to Guyana. Lots of places where we have lots of people living in Cayman, and lots of places where we do business. Also, with our long-standing interline agreement with Virgin Airways, we will have the only one-stop itinerary, of course, with convenient baggage check-through, between Manchester International Airport in England and Cayman, which means we now have a one-stop service to the British Midlands, which is a place for which we have great interest from a tourism perspective. We'll also be providing a second flight to and from Los Angeles, a midweek flight. You heard about the red-eye flight. And this opens up even greater convenience for passengers returning from Asia, because then when they come in, they can just come directly home. Our morning departure to LA is not as convenient as this would be. It also opens up greater connectivity on the West Coast. And all of this means incremental revenue, which in my book is always a good thing. And I should add, the partnership with Barbados helps us to mitigate the risk associated with adding this new flight. And so we all benefit together by this partnership. The mission of Cayman Airways, and for the record, this is in my own words, is to provide the people of the Cayman Islands with the cost-effective connectivity they need to conduct business, visit friends and families, and vacation. And to provide the world with cost-effective connectivity to get here to conduct business, visit friends and families, and most importantly, I'm sure from the minister's perspective and the Department of Tourism and Ports and the Ministry of Tourism and Ports and Department of Tourism, satisfy the world's desire to enjoy our Three Islands experience with our wonderful beaches, cultural iconic sites, vibrant culinary scene, and of course, our people, culture, and heritage. We in the Cayman Islands are fortunate to have a national airline that can be strategically used to drive tourism. Although we receive government support to meet the strategic objectives, and trust me, this support is vital, to us at Cayman Airways. My fellow board members and I believe that our mandate is to generate additional revenue and thereby achieve profitability. To this end, we have made calculated and deliberate decisions with respect to our network and schedule, and these decisions are already bearing fruit. Year to date, our performance in terms of load factors and revenue have been the best or close to the best in our history. For the first 6 months of 2023, we had passenger revenue of $34 million, a 22% increase over 2019 and a new company record. We transported over 200,000 passengers, and we had an average load factor of 57.3%, which ties the previous record, but that load factor was based on aircraft with 24% less seats. So you can see that we're doing well. On Los Angeles, our average load factor is just shy of 61%. We've transported just shy of 5,000 passengers, and we're generally performing better than we anticipated when we actually launched the route. In Panama, the average load factor for revenue passengers, obviously we had a launch flight, so is around 62.3%, and the flights are doing well again. Looking forward, we have over 65,000 passengers already holding bookings for the next several months, including 2,600 plus passengers to LA and 2,700 plus passengers to Panama. These results solidify Cayman Airways is a thriving and growing national airline, and also shows that our strategy is to leverage our international partnerships via our gateway destination. And we're not done yet. The commercial subcommittee of the board, along with the EVP for Finance and Commercial and his team, are all constantly reviewing revenue opportunities and destination opportunities, and looking for ways to strategically expand our offerings. And as you might expect, we're looking forward to 2024. And we hope to be able to share some more details with you in the coming months. But for now, I will just share that we're looking to add 2 new U.S. destinations, both less than 4 hours away by flight time. And we're also looking to add some more partnerships, interline agreements, which we'll be announcing later in the year. All what we're doing to increase connectivity and make the best use of what we have and the friends we have and the partnerships we have, as indicated by our announcement today. With that, thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Chairman Clark. We'll turn now to CEO of Cayman Airways, Mr. Fabian Worms.
Good morning to everyone in Cayman, the Cayman Islands, and also Barbados. With Cayman Airways being an airline which is proudly owned by the Cayman Islands government, and one which has been strategically used for the last 55 years by successive governments to operate routes which would benefit the Cayman Islands in one way or another, Cayman Airways is now pleased to serve again by supporting the Cayman Islands government, its sole shareholder, in this collaboration with the government of Barbados, which will undoubtedly result in improved airlift across the Caribbean region and beyond. We're currently working with the relevant regulatory and operational support agencies to ensure that the required approvals for operation and sale of the flights can commence soon. The scheduled start dates are now therefore tentative at this point and subject to change. But we are aiming, as Minister Edgehill Gooding said, for a start date of October 18th, and we expect to have everything in place for tickets to go on sale in early to mid-August. We're currently working with a draft schedule, as I indicated, but this schedule will have 2 midweek rotations back to back from Barbados, between Barbados and Grand Cayman. These rotations will be on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Our team is currently working to optimize the flight times, to maximize connections with other Cayman Airways flights, and to also facilitate great connectivity from Barbados to the Eastern Caribbean and Europe. The flight times on the days that we are tentatively scheduled to fly are as follows. On a Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., a flight will depart from Grand Cayman to Barbados and arrive at the Grantley Adams International Airport at 11:10 a.m. in the morning. The aircraft will remain on the ground in Barbados until 12:25 Barbados time, and that's when the flight to Grand Cayman will depart. It will arrive here at 2:45 in the afternoon. That flight will then connect with the second Los Angeles frequency that we're adding, which departs Grand Cayman at 3:45 in the afternoon and arrives in Los Angeles at 7:45 local time Los Angeles, 7:45 p.m. That aircraft will that aircraft will then turn around at 11:30 at night in Los Angeles and operate what's referred to in the industry as a red-eye flight. So it departs Los Angeles at 11:30 p.m. at night, flies through the night, and arrives in Grand Cayman at 7 a.m. on Thursday morning. On Thursday morning, we have our second weekly flight going to Barbados, which will depart Grand Cayman at 10 a.m. and arrive in Barbados at 2:10 local time. The flight will then spend some time on the ground to facilitate our connections to and from airlines like Virgin and other carriers, and then depart Barbados at 4:50 in the evening and arrive in Grand Cayman at 7:10 local. Again, these flight times are still being tweaked, but we wanted to give an indication of what the flow would look like and illustrate the connectivity of these two Barbados flights with the Los Angeles rotation that we have from Grand Cayman sandwiched in the middle to provide connectivity. I'm available to answer any questions operationally, but that's the end of my remarks.
All right, we will now then, thank you so much, Mr. Moore. We'll now open the floor to the media. I'll ask Mr. Ralph Lewis from the Caymanian Times to ask his questions. As he's coming to the podium, I will ask all media, members of the media, to please limit your questions to two questions, please, as we do have quite a few members of the media online to ask questions. Thank you. Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mona, and good morning to the members of the panel. It's a lot to digest. It's a short time, and I have lots of questions, but I'll stick with my two. Mr., if you don't mind, the first question is yours, and the second is Mr. Dr. Paul. Based on the new plans, is it the long-term strategy for Cayman Airways to increase its activity or its service to the Eastern Caribbean, and by then encouraging more Eastern Caribbean natives to come over to this side of the Western Caribbean?
Most naturally. Any travel is good travel for the airline. Obviously, we have the cultural connectivity, which I think we should embrace. Cayman is a melting pot already as it is, and I would love to see more Eastern Caribbean nationals here. We've grown tremendously as a population, but it's been mainly of Europeans and Northern Americans. So I think it would be good for us to have growth and visitation from visitors who have similarities in our background, our culture, and heritage. So yes is simply the answer to that.
Okay. Dr. Paul, the aircraft are going to be very busy. Do we have enough equipment or enough to make all of these flights?
So I will say the aircraft are busy on the weekends.
Okay.
Right? During the week, not as busy. In fact, we actually have spare capacity during the week, which we tend to use for charters here and there as they come up. But really during the week, it fits well in. And the other thing is that with the red eye, the airplane will not be taken out of service for an entire day. In current schedule, we go to LA, then the airplane overnights over there and comes back during the day. So the red eye, the airplane will be back into circulation as well.
And the second part of that question was, will we be dropping any routes that we currently do?
Nothing to be dropped. Listen, we have a framework, as you might expect from a nerd, the nerd that I am. We have a framework where we look at the trade-offs associated with different routes, route profitability, etc. This, because it's happening during the week when we're not pressed. And we will have the ability to do it without dropping anything else.
Thank you very much, Mona. That's my two questions.
Thank you. We'll call now on Norma Connolly from the Cayman Compass.
Good morning, all. I'll give my couple of questions. Minister Gooding Edgehill mentioned about reducing the airport tax to incentivize people to travel to Barbados. Is that something Cayman is considering to incentivize more travellers to come from other areas of the Caribbean? I know the whole tax issue at airports has been one of the major factors and major obstacles in interconnectivity between Caribbean islands. So I wonder if there's been more discussion about that. Might we be doing something similar here? And might Barbados be considering expanding the reduction of their taxes?
The Cayman Islands is not currently examining that as an option. We still have a lot of improvements to do at the airport, and we need every penny we can get to make sure that the service is excellent and the standards are what is Cayman standards. So not at this moment.
Okay. I wonder if Minister Gooding Edgehill could also address that question about whether they would consider expanding the reduction. I know he said it was going to continue until December to help.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the question. The government of Barbados made a decision that with effect until July the 14th of this year, we would have reduced the tax, and that tax has been reduced. Obviously, the rationale behind the reduction is to stimulate travel within the region to Barbados. And that is a government strategy. We believe it's going to work to advantage. I cannot at this time confirm to you that we will extend it. That is a decision that has to be made by the cabinet. It's a policy position. But where we are right now is that we have clearly communicated that from July until December the 14th of this year, the reduction will remain in place. We will have an evaluation to see obviously what were the key benefits, takeaways from it, whether it addressed the rationale of stimulating travel through, and whether we need to continue or we need to go back and adjust it to where it was. But that's an ongoing review that we have to undertake in Barbados before we make any further policy announcements in that respect.
Okay, thank you. Is Cayman Airways moving into a position of being the regional carrier? We seem to be adding on new routes and establishing ourselves in that capacity. Is this something that you're thinking of? Is this the beginning of a whole wide opening up of the region through Cayman Airways?
I wouldn't say necessarily a regional carrier. I say that we're making strategic decisions to make sure that we can maximize our connectivity to the Cayman Islands. What you see today here is a mutual benefit route, not only to Barbados but to the Cayman Islands. I think it's probably best to explain it like this. Barbados would like to have people coming from the west coast of the United States, and the Cayman Islands would like to have a lot more people coming from Europe. So with the amazing airport they have in Barbados and the amazing airport we have here in the Cayman Islands, it allows a one-stop opportunity for us to cross-promote to get visitors to our own islands. So obviously my department of tourism can tweak their advertising strategies where the route structure is now convenient due to this connectivity through Barbados. And vice versa, I suspect that Minister from Barbados will do the same for connectivity to Barbados through Los Angeles. So it's a mutual benefit route. We have done our traditional regional areas like Cuba, Jamaica, Honduras, but we only have a certain amount of planes that we can operate. And the reason why this decision was taken was that it was done during the week where space and availability was there. We wouldn't have been able to announce such a route to Barbados if it was on the weekend, because our flights are in full capacity at source markets, which is necessary for our tourism product and our local business travel. So I wouldn't say that we are becoming the regional flag carrier, but where it's beneficial for the Cayman Islands and beneficial for the other Caribbean islands that we can all win, then yes, we'll do so, as long as it's not a loss to our national flag carrier company.
Is there a price yet for how much the flights are going to be?
We're still working on our pricing models, but the minister in his opening remarks did mention that our fares will be lower than what obtains now if someone has to choose one of the traditional routes, which is typically to go over Miami. So you'll have a combination of lower fares with a direct flight to Barbados from Grand Cayman.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Connolly. I'll call now on April Cummings from Radio Cayman.
Hi there, everyone. One question really any of you or all of you can answer. It's really just how are you going to define success on this? What does that look like in terms of numbers or revenue? How will you know this is working as intended?
I'll take a jab at this, and then the chairman and the CEO can add to it. Where I see success is the second LA flight being having the loads necessary for it to be sustainable. Obviously, the Barbados team will cross-promote in the best interest of having persons from the West Coast get to Barbados. Having more than one flight from Los Angeles allows it more convenient for the Cayman Islands, particularly the business traveler. Right now, we are operating on a 6-day trip to the Cayman Islands. Some business travelers usually take 3 to 4 days when they can wrap up their business and go back. So this second flight will be beneficial to us in that way. And I think that obviously we're doing well now with our current flight, but with the addition of a new one and different options, it will have an effect on the first flight. And we believe that the other seats that will continue on to Barbados, not only through the Los Angeles, but through other places, will help to facilitate the Barbados flight as well from a numbers perspective. So we have every reason to believe, after looking at the numbers, that the success will be the loads will be enough that the plane will make a profit and not a loss. The other success factor is, after looking at quarterlies and half-year marks, and after this first initial flight for a full year, to see our numbers from particular gateways in Europe increase. It's a part of my ministry and the Department of Tourism diversification strategy to increase the percentages of visitors from different areas. And we learned a valuable lesson during COVID is that you don't want all your eggs in one basket. And that's the overall strategy of the go east, north, west, and south, that regardless of what's happening geopolitical or natural disaster, that we can have connectivity to make sure our tourism product continues to work.
Fair enough.
Gentlemen, you want to add to that?
No, I'll just add that, one of the things that we've seen since introducing Los Angeles is that a number of people will come on our flight on the weekend and then they go back on somebody else. Or they'll come on somebody else and go back on us on the weekend. So this midweek flight allows us to offer a product that keeps them on us, which is what we want. It's also with the partnership with Barbados, it benefits them, but it's also a good partnership, as the minister said, where we can get the loads between us to make it a profitable, the loads and the fares between us to make the route profitable. So again, it's all about making a good partnership and making it a win-win situation. So we have some in the back of my mind, obviously I have some measures of success, but we have targets that we'd like. There's a load factor that we have based on our numbers and figures that we have internally as targets. And so we'll be tracking against those.
And I said one question, but two. Because Mr. Minister Bryan has dual roles, how does this align with the things you've been doing in terms of regional connectivity? I've heard you talk a great deal about that. How well does this support your initiatives in that direction?
It does. It meets the mark of my ambitions as chairman to give greater connectivity to the region. But I'm always Minister of Tourism of the Cayman Islands first before anything else. And the Cayman Airways is a company owned by the Caymanian people. So as long when the discussion and negotiations with Minister came up, I said, I'll be happy to facilitate as much as possible as long as it's not at the detriment of the taxpayers' money. And we were able to sit down and look at the numbers and see where it was beneficial for both sides. So I'm happy to be able to check both boxes as Minister of Tourism for the Cayman Islands and increasing the connectivity for the region. I think that my colleagues from the other Caribbean islands are going to be also very happy. I couldn't tell them anything until we both, as ministers for Barbados and Cayman, announced this, but we think it's going to facilitate that more connectivity rather than depending on the North American airlines, which sometimes can control the pricing. I think that this works well for the Caribbean. And you've got to think not only about leisure travel, but whether it's trade, whether it's visitation to family members, that we all have some connectivity to the Caribbean in some way, shape, or form. So I'm just excited to be able to do it. I think it meets both check marks, and I know I'm doing the commitment to the Caymanian people first.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, April. I have a question from Alric Lindsay from Loop Caribbean. It might be something that was pointed to both Minister Gooding Edgehill and possibly also Mr. Clark as it relates to any market research. So the question is, or can you speak to market research or the analysis that was conducted to determine the feasibility and demand for this destination? You could just expand on that.
Well, I will say that most of for us here, I mean, we did, and we were considering a second flight. Obviously, when you consider a second flight, you do what you call, potential spill on other flights and recapture, and also increase revenue, as I was saying, about from bringing people who were going back on other airlines. And we were discussing at the board level for a while, when it was the right time for us to go into LA. And, we had not planned to go right now, but as the minister indicated, this partnership works, and it allowed us to bring forward the addition of this second flight. And so certainly from our perspective, we expect to see greater loads coming to Cayman from there, and we have some estimates of that. Separately, the government of Barbados, especially BTMI, have been doing their analysis, and they feel, while we have not been privy to the details of their analysis, they have exuded great confidence in the fact that this market will be very beneficial for them. And there's also connectivity as well, obviously, because the Jamaica and Havana, other places where people in Barbados will travel through, and now will be traveling through here to get to as well. And so we've done our numbers, and we believe that it will be beneficial to us in incremental revenue. And based on the number and the analysis and the results that they provided from Barbados, that together we'll be able to achieve profitability.
Will there be any remarks from the minister or the BTMI team in Barbados on that question?
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe that John Paul Clark made the correct assessment. And let me also make this point. In my short tenure as Minister of Tourism, airlines don't point aircraft to routes that are likely to lose money. That's the first thing. Of course, we have done our research here in Barbados through BTMI, but the bottom line for us is connectivity. And the points that I stressed during my presentation, it is a wonderful opportunity for the flight to allow persons from the Eastern Caribbean to connect on Cayman, to go to Cayman and to go beyond the Cayman, and vice versa. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us. We are confident We have in the past done some chartered flights from Cayman into Barbados. Those were successful. And when we look at our data and we look and see where we need to drive additional airlift and where we need to drive additional traffic, Cayman, and based on the availability of aircraft, because that's another major challenge within the aviation industry. They have lack of sometimes aircraft to do what you want to do. And as you heard the chairman Cayman making the point, Airways making the point, that they had capacity. We are going to put our marketing resources behind the gateway to ensure that this is successful. But there's also another opportunity working with our other Caribbean islands in the Eastern Caribbean to facilitate gateway travel through Barbados to onward destinations, and like I said, vice versa. So we are confident that this will do well, and of course we know that this will definitely help us in terms of both governments, by the way, Cayman and Barbados, in bridging that aviation gap. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Gooding Edgehill. I'll turn now to Sandra Hill of Cayman Marl Road. Do you have some questions? No questions from Cayman Marl Road today. I do have a question from reporter Brian Major from Travel Pulse. He's asked a question on intra-Caribbean connectivity. I think this question may have been answered, but I'll ask anyway. Intra-Caribbean connectivity and high Caribbean airline fares have been hot issues in the industry, as you know. How does this agreement impact those issues?
Well, post-COVID, many airlines have reduced their routes, particularly within the Caribbean region. A number of that has to do with restructuring of airline companies, as well as the limitation on pilots, cost of fuel, and a lot of different factors. So many of the ones we traditionally depend on from Northern America hasn't come back into the market. And it's obviously had a major effect in the Caribbean region, as all of our Caribbean islands depend heavily on tourism, whether it's the primary economic driver or the secondary economic driver like us here in Cayman. So being able to use regional airlines, whether it's Cayman Airways or Bahamas Air or Caribbean Airways, to help facilitate within the region, because when we keep the attention from a tourism perspective to the global audience that the Caribbean is a place to visit. When you say the Caribbean, it depends on how lucky you are. So you want to get people to say, look at the Caribbean. But when you look at the Caribbean, look at Cayman, or look at the Caribbean, look at Barbados. So the connectivity availability allows for all of us to succeed in respect to this. So again, taking one part of the box from a chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization to facilitate this, but more importantly, the economic opportunities from business, trade, and leisure travel for the Cayman Islands tourism product. So I think this only helps. I think by adding this to the market, it may even reduce the prices of other airlines that are currently serving into the Caribbean. The more competition that is there, it brings down the pricing. And I think that this direct service from Cayman to Barbados to the Eastern Caribbean will be a game changer. There's no other place that will be able to have that seamless connectivity to the Eastern Caribbean from another Caribbean island. So I'm very happy to be involved there.
Thank you, Minister. I do have Wendy Ledger also online from Cayman News Service. She will ask her questions live. Miss Wendy?
Thank you very much, Mona. I've got my two questions ready. The first one is this partnership, does it involve Barbados contributing financially in any way, given what they're getting access to with what would be effectively a flight to Los Angeles via Cayman?
Wendy, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to talk about the contract itself in respect to the arrangement with Cayman Airways as well as the authority in Barbados. So legally, I can't answer that question. I wish I could, but I can't.
Oh, okay. And given that it's still public money, though, at some point, will you be able to reveal that?
If I am legally allowed to, again, I'm transparent to the people's taxes. Some things are protected for contractual reasons and proprietary information and so forth. But I can promise the Cayman Islands people is this. the Cayman Islands will not lose in any capacity.
Okay, and the second question is, given that European travellers can already fly to Miami direct from a gazillion different destinations in Europe and then have a 45-minute flight down to here, why would they want to do it through Barbados?
Well, I personally believe that the data shows that there's a lot of people who fly through Barbados, and you also have multi-destination Caribbean tourism where you can spend a few days in Barbados, spend a few days in the Cayman Islands. And you have visa restrictions as well, whereby people can't go to the United States because they don't have a visa. So when you add up the little pieces of information together, you start to see that there is a pocket of percentage that we can tap into that we're not currently tapping into. And the more routes you have to your destination, as long as they're profitable and they're not loss makers, it increases your opportunity from a tourism perspective. And what our job to do as minister, as the chairman of the board, as the CEO for the airline, is to take this analysis and come to a conclusion on every issue. Now, what the public sometimes doesn't hear is when we do an analysis on a route and say, no, that route doesn't make sense. We work really hard on analyzing the data, and that's why I'm so happy to have the chairman on here. His vast experience and background in respect to this area tells us that we're going to be successful. And most importantly, not a loss. Because sometimes, even though you may not be making a profit, as long as you're not making a loss, the country makes a profit. Because the tourism component, the working opportunities, the taxes that they spend at the hotels, the rooms that they rent or the cars that they rent, the fuel that they purchase, so we make money on the other end. Again, I always try to remind people that Cayman Airways is not some people see it as an expense and loss. It's an economic accelerator. Its job is to help us not only give connectivity to our local residents, but to facilitate tourism injection within our islands.
Thank you. Can I just sneak one in for Mr. Fabian about when we're going to Vegas, please?
I didn't know we were going to Vegas. Did you? Did I not know?
I am still trying to figure out how that rumor came about.
Well, it's because we all want to go put our pension money on red. It's the only way we're going to survive.
I think you actually have a very easy way to get to Las Vegas using our Los Angeles flight. I think there are flights leaving from Los Angeles to Las Vegas on the hour, and they're short flights.
Yeah, that's
so.
But the drive is nice, though, Wendy. I will tell you. I used to live in LA.
It's 5 hours. 5 hours is too long. Through the desert in that.
I mean, if you want to, go to Vegas for the obvious reasons, you can always take our Panama flight, which they offer quite similarly, same situations in Panama. So if not Vegas, you can take a less than 2-hour flight to Panama and get the same results. So I'm not suggesting that what you want to go there for, but that's on a personal level. Is there any international?
I do believe
Yes?
we have Miss Phillips from the CBC. I'm getting a message. Are they still online from the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation?
Hi, Mona. Apologies that they had to drop off. So as soon as they're back on, we would advise, or any questions they have, we will forward.
Okay, thank you so much. At this point, then I'll ask the Honourable Minister Gooding Edgehill to give his final remarks.
Thank you very much. First of all, Minister Bryan, let me thank you on behalf of the Ministry of Tourism and certainly the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. Let me also thank Dr. John Paul Clark and of course your CEO, Mr. Fabian Worm. This exercise this morning further cements the relationship between both countries, Cayman Islands and Barbados. The fact that we were able to negotiate and bring this to a conclusion where we're going to have a scheduled service into Barbados commencing in October, of course subject to all the regulatory controls which we anticipate that will happen. It is an exciting opportunity for us. It is for Barbados to continue to build out the Eastern Caribbean as a hub for travel. It's an opportunity for us as well to leverage additional visitors who would wish to benefit from multi-destinational travel. It's an opportunity for us to increase our visitor stays in Barbados, as well as, of course, to increase visitor spend. We believe that this partnership will work very well for us as a country. It will also work very well for the Cayman government. We are fully appraised of the situation with respect to how we intend to execute this arrangement. And as I indicated earlier, the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. will be doing significant marketing behind the gateway in order for us to make this a successful joint venture and partnership. I really want to say once again a big thank you to my chairman of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., who is very much actively, I may add, involved in the discussions with you, Dr. John Paul Clark, and other members of the team. This has been a work, a labor of love, and we understand the critical importance of it. We will work together. You have our commitment that we will work together to make this successful. And I really want, once again, Minister Brian, to thank you. You've done a terrific job as the chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization. And I know that when we were at the CTO meeting in May, we had a wonderful opportunity to sit down and discuss a number of initiatives. And this is but one of the initiatives that has borne fruit. So we really want to thank you for your leadership there. And I want to thank you for all that you've done to allow us and to allow the board to consider this request, and for the board of Cayman Airways Limited to make and to give us the go-ahead to get this happening. We believe in the partnership, and we will continue to work as partners on this venture. And we look forward to working with you, Minister Brian, and your team at Cayman Airways Limited, and other exciting and future prospects, because we believe if you have spare capacity and that could be utilized in the most efficient way, that we don't lose money, then there are additional opportunities to be had. So I really want to extend my thanks to everybody who would be involved in the negotiating team at Cayman Airways Limited, and also Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., which was led by our chair and another consultant and others there. So those are my closing remarks, and I thank you on behalf of the people of Barbados as well.
Thank you, Minister Gooding Edgehill. Minister Brian, I'll ask you to have your closing remark. Give your closing remarks now.
Thank you so much. First, let me start by thanking the Honourable Minister Gooding Edgehill. We always do the formalities of minister to minister, but I must say he's a good friend. And the good people of Barbados has a great minister leading their tourism product. And in this partnership and this discussion has been really great. I think it's going to be mutually benefit for us all. I thank him for his kind words in respect to my chairmanship. I look forward to coming to visit on the inaugural flight to Barbados. I want to say a special thanks to Ms. Shelley, though, for the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., who is majorly important in the background on the Barbados side of things. Didn't get to say much today, but she's a superstar in Barbados. So the good people and the good minister has a strong team over there. Likewise, my team in Cayman, and I'm so grateful to have them, particularly the chairman leading our strategies from a company perspective as well as a tourism perspective. I probably wouldn't be able to shine as great as things are now as minister without their help, and the CEO of Cayman Airways leading the amazing employees at Cayman Airways. So the reason why people want Cayman Airways is because the staff at Cayman Airways is that awesome. People love it. I want to say to the Bayesian diaspora that is here, they have a special group that have been reaching out to me, talking to me about wanting direct service to Barbados from over a year and a half ago. They travel once or twice a year back to Barbados. I know they're pretty super excited about the news today, so I'm hoping that as soon as we have those flights announced, you can book some of your tickets. I think the other component of our tourism product, which is Carnival, we want to expand that. I think this also opens up that area of tourism opportunity. There's a strong culture of Carnival, obviously, in the Caribbean, Ours is not as strong, but I think this gateway will now allow an opportunity of all of those Eastern Caribbean islands to say, when we have Parks Week, or we have Barbados, or we have Cayman, they can come on down and join us to show you how we do Carnival here in the Cayman Islands. So there's a lot of benefits here. With that being said, to the good people of the Cayman Islands, I want to remind you, I love you. Try to have a wonderful day, be kind to each other, and to the Cayman Airways staff, thank you for all the amazing work that you do. Let's make another successful route. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Minister Bryan. And that ends our press briefing today. We'd like to just thank the public, you, the public who's watching at home, the media, and our panelists and our special guests for joining us today. I'm Mona Lisa Mead with the Ministry of Tourism. Thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.